Hi everybody, welcome to the K&B Talk Show. I'm Brian.
I'm Chris.
We just finished up Divisional playoff weekend, and there were some really good games that happened, and there were some really bad games for some teams. So the first game I'm going to talk about was the Giants and Packers game. That game was not the 15-1 team we saw the whole year. The Packers, they did not play well at all. Dropped balls, fumbles, awful defense. I mean, that was not the team. I mean, we knew they did have the best defense, but they had the number one takeaways or interceptions going into the game, but that was not the team we had seen all season, and it was a very disappointing loss to the Packers. Giants, they've played very well. I give props to them. They've had an amazing run so far. Let's see if it happens like when they won the Super Bowl in 2007.
Right.
Okay.
What I was going to say about that game is, I mean, on offense, how you can describe it is dropped balls. I mean, it was, I think, 7 or 8 by the end of the game. I mean, every time the Packers needed a big play on third down or second and long, something like that, Rodgers threw a near-perfect pass. I mean, it was just the receivers. They had their hands on the ball, and they just couldn't bring it in.
There were so many drop balls. I mean, they have such good receivers, but it was like they were all on an off day. Maybe the bye threw them off. I'm not sure, but looking at their receiver core, they have a good receiving core. It's not like they're bad receivers. It's just they were all dropping balls, and it kind of confused me. I'm like, what's happening? I'm just thinking maybe the bye threw them off, or maybe it was a loss of their offensive coordinator's son, the tragedy in the Packer family. That could have affected them, but who knows?
I mean, there's definitely that, but, I mean, the bye week, it's kind of a two-edged sword where you do get a week off to help rest your guys, but you kind of lose your rhythm. I mean, these guys have played for 16 weeks, excluding their bye week. I mean, it was football every week. They were just getting their rhythm built up, playing every week, and I think having that bye week is kind of what affected them. They weren't always in football mode in that game. But on defense, I mean, they do have a very good, I mean, they don't have a terrible secondary, but,
no,
I mean, they just played really bad.
Yeah, it was awful. It wasn't the number one seed that we had seen all year, but once again, congrats to the Giants. That was a well-played game, good defense. Eli did great, so we'll see what happens next week.
Right. And then we also had the 49ers and the Saints game, and that was a very good game. Like, I mean, there was more scoring in the last 4 minutes of the game than there was for the rest of the game, but I think that was the most exciting game this weekend that happened. Especially down, like I said, the last 4 minutes. I mean, they each had 2 possible game-winning drives. It started with the Saints, they scored, then the 49ers, then the Saints and the 49ers. I mean, it was crazy seeing them going back and forth like that, but I mean, right there at the end, what we're talking about is the defense. And, I mean, it was a very high-scoring game. So I would say that San Francisco's defense didn't show like they should have. But I say congrats to Alex Smith. I mean, he played a very good game, and it was because of him and especially Vernon Davis that they ended up pulling this game out.
Yeah, it was a very good game, especially by Vernon Davis. Vernon Davis, that was it the 40-yard catch and run, that play, and then the touchdown catch. He is basically what saved and won the game for the 49ers. It was a well-thought game. 49ers did stop Breeze a lot, even though they still scored a lot. I do think 49ers could have run away with the score a lot more than it was shown, just because the defense was playing. Saints had like 5 turnovers. I mean, they had plenty of opportunities to score, it's just they didn't take advantage of it. But in the end, they still did win, so defense won that game.
Yeah.
And that was a good game.
All right, and then over in the AFC, the first game we have is the Ravens-Texans game, which was, I would say, a very ugly game by the Ravens. But, I mean, they went up 17-3 early, and they pretty much rode that lead until the very end. Houston, I would say Houston played much better for most of the game, but like I said, it's that early score that the Ravens had, and they had a good drive at the end, which ended up winning it for them.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you with the sloppiness. It was not a very well played game by either team, but once again, I was impressed by Houston. Still with TJ Yates, I mean, of course they lost, but still, he did throw 3 picks. He's still a young guy, though. I mean, for a third-string quarterback, getting you into the divisional round of playoffs, that's pretty good if you ask me.
Right.
So, I mean, even though they did lose, successful year to the Texans, I do think they're going to come back even better than ever next year.
Right. Arian Foster had a really good game. But again, they weren't able to win. But Arian Foster, he played really good. TJ Yates, I mean, it's tough being your rookie year. This is the first time the Texans have ever made the playoffs, and going to play Baltimore in Baltimore. They hadn't had a home game since 2006. You know those fans were going crazy out there. I mean, that's a very, against that secondary that he was throwing into, I mean, that's a very bad situation. I mean, it's one of the toughest in the league, I would say, for TJ Yates. And, I mean, he played good. I think if he would have had maybe one less pick, maybe two, I mean, they could have very easily won that game.
They could have, because just the Ravens had that sloppy day. The Texans could have easily taken advantage of it. And my personal opinion, if Matt Schaub had been there, I no doubt thought they would have won that game just because of the way the Ravens played. But once again, congrats to the Ravens for winning, and congrats to TJ Yates for making it this far as a third-string rookie quarterback.
It's very impressive, especially by him. And there were a couple dropped picks by the Ravens, but I mean, if you had just watched the game and didn't know the score, you would have picked the Texans. So, like you said, I think the Texans are going to come back really good next year.
So do I. So we're going to move on to next week, NFC Championship, AFC Championship. Start with the NFC Championship. Oh, wait, no, we forgot the Broncos and Patriots.
Right.
My fault. Not much to say on that game. Tom Brady tore up the Broncos.
Right.
Tebow didn't do much. There wasn't much of Tebow time.
I kind of knew this was going to happen because it's basically the exact same game that happened during the regular season. The Broncos, they scored a couple times, but I mean, just Tom Brady against that Denver defense, I mean, he just tore it up. I mean, all those receivers he has. I mean, I don't know how you could pick the Broncos in that game. And the Patriots played like they were supposed to. That was the only really blowout this weekend. I mean, the Giants game kind of was, but I mean, the Patriots had that from the very beginning.
Yeah, basically what he said, just was not a well-played game by the Broncos at all. Tom Brady tore him up. Simple as that.
And the one thing I would say about that is, I think Tebow, as much as we criticize him, I do think he's still in that learning phase. I think next year, we know he'll probably be the quarterback in Denver. And so I think that just because of this game, the run they've had, I look to Denver being a very good team, possibly winning that division. Again, not a very good division they're in. So, I mean, it's a little early to say, but I think Tim Tebow is going to be ready to win that division and get back to the playoffs and win a couple games.
You know, I agree with that. As much as we have ragged on Tebow, this is his first season to start. He's only in his second year, so I mean, he's gonna get better. I mean, he can already run the ball, which is good because mobile quarterbacks this is kind of the new age of quarterbacks is mobile. It seems like. I mean, there are still some that are good in the pocket, but it seems that more of them are becoming mobile. But Tebow does have some skill. He can be better. I do believe they can win that division again next year, just because it's not that great of a division. So yeah.
All right, and then looking forward to next week, like you said, let's start with the NFC. We have the Giants going to San Francisco. That's our first game. Whoever wins that goes to the Super Bowl in the NFC. Who do you see winning that game?
I'm going to pick the 49ers. As I know the Giants are on their roll, but they're actually going to play a defense. Nothing against the Packers, but their defense isn't that great. It was 32nd in the NFL. But the 49ers, they're ranked number 1. Unlike the Packers, the 49ers have a defense. They can stop Eli. They'll be able to do something. They have a good offense, and I think they're going to be able to stop the Giants' roll and just beat them down.
I mean that's very true. The 49ers defense is very good, but I mean, like I said, the Saints put up 36 or something like that on them, and I think the Giants' offense right now, like you said, they're on a roll. I'm picking the Giants to win this game. I think they're playing like that game they played yesterday, that was their Super Bowl. I mean, they were so excited in that game. They had a good energy, an energy that the Packers couldn't even match up to. So I see they're ready to go back to the Super Bowl. They're ready to win it. And I see Hakeem Nicks, Victor Cruz. I mean, that's a very good receiving core right there. And the Giants have a very good defense as well. So I see the Giants winning this game. I see them being able to score, take advantage of that 49ers defense. And then I also see the Giants defense shutting down Alex Smith, though. So I'm going to pick the Giants in that game.
All right, moving on to the Ravens-Patriots game. Who do you take?
I'm going to stick with my pick, and I'm going to take the Ravens in this game. It is very tough to go play in Foxborough against the Patriots, especially with a trip to the Super Bowl on the line. But we have seen the Ravens play well against the Patriots lately. I don't know what it is. The Patriots do seem to play good in Foxborough. They did beat the Patriots in Foxborough a couple of years ago in the playoffs. And, I mean, like I said a couple of videos ago, the Ravens think this is their year. They know that this is their time to win the Super Bowl. And, I mean, for the Patriots, they're in the same position every year. They get the 1 or the 2 seed. They're here sitting, waiting for teams to come visit them. So I think the Ravens are going to have more of a drive in this game. I think they really need to get their act cleaned up, and I think they'll do it under John Harbaugh. And so I picked the Ravens going in there, and that Ravens defense being able to shut down Tom Brady, not the entire game, but enough to where the Ravens can pull out ahead, and I think they'll be able to keep that lead.
I'm actually going to retract my statement. I'm switching to the Patriots. After watching the Ravens and Patriots, play this weekend, watching Tom Brady just pick apart the Broncos, and watching the Patriots defense, which hasn't been around lately, watch them just beat up Tebow all day long. I mean, they were hitting him, they were sacking him all day. And after watching the Ravens' poor offensive performance, they had a good defensive one, but after watching that poor offensive performance, I just think the Patriots defense, they're fired up. I mean, they've been criticized and haven't been appreciated because they haven't been done that well all season long, and I just think they're fired up. You know what? They're like, regular season doesn't matter. We don't care if we were second to last or whatever. This is playoff time. We can be a whole new defense. Let's go. They're ready to roll. And I think they're going to be able to stop Joe Flacco because they had that rough week against the Texans. As good as the Ravens defense is, I think Tom Brady, after seeing him tear apart the Broncos, which is a pretty good defense, I think he'll be able to beat the Ravens just because he's Tom Brady and he's been playing extremely well lately. So.
Okay, so after this week, some teams played different than we thought they would. Our original picks, most of them aren't even in the Super Bowl. So who do you think's winning the Super Bowl?
I said 49er Patriots Super Bowl. That's a tough one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Honestly, I'm not going to make my pick until I see them both play or see who's in it, just because the 49ers defense is so good and the Patriots offense is so good. I have to see another week of it because I can't tell you right now.
And that's what I was going to say. I would say that all of these teams they're a good Super Bowl threat. It's not like we have a crappy team that snuck into one of these championship games. I mean, if any of these teams made the playoffs, I could very easily see them winning. I mean, the Ravens make it, they could win it. Patriots, of course, if they're in the Super Bowl, they're always going to be probably a favorite in that game. The 49ers defense and this Giants offense, I mean, any of these teams can make it and win it. So, right now, I would say out of these 4 teams, I'd probably pick the Giants as my favorite to win. But I guess we'll have to wait till next week. And next week, we'll know the matchup.
You know what? If I had to pick somebody out of these 4 teams to win it all, I'm going to say the 49ers. That's my pick. So, but we'll have to see until next week.
Right.
So that's all we have for today. Basketball and baseball, like we said, we'll get more into that as the NFL starts ending, which is getting close. But for now, we want to solely focus on football just because we're almost at the Super Bowl stage. And so if you have any questions, comments, anything you want to say, tweet us, follow us, subscribe to us, anything at all, send us an email of a question, and that's all I got.
Yep, and then we'll come back at you next week. And then we also have the Pro Bowl coming up. We'll do a little bit of preview of the Pro Bowl, name our guys who think are going to be real stars, shiners in that game, and then, of course, we got the Super Bowl coming up. So we'll see you guys next week.
All right, see you guys.